Hello you guys, so today we will be doing a Bohemian knotless bob. I will be using LuluTress hair, water wave, and expression pre-stretched hair. You can use a shorter hair, but I just had that one at the time, so yeah, that's what we're going with. The products I will be using are Murray's Edge Wax and Shining Gem from Magic Fingers. Those are really the only two that I use. So to achieve the curly look, I normally use the LuluTress hair. To get the hair throughout the braid, I keep it long, but for the ends, I do cut the hair in half so you won't have too much hair just everywhere. So cut the hair in half for the ends and keep it long for the hair that comes out of the braid. Alrighty, so here we go. I part as if I'm doing maybe a medium size knotless braid or maybe a little bit smaller because you don't want the braids to be too big. Well, I don't. I part like I'm doing a medium size knotless braid, and I use edge control to clean my parts. So I'm going to get some edge control and I'm going to put it on the part. That way you can make sure it's nice and clean. You could use a rat tail comb if you would like, or whatever works for you. I don't really use parting combs that come with like the space in between the tooth because it gets caught on the hair when it's time to comb the hair down. Well, for me it does. But yeah, I just clean my part up with edge control. And then I do subsections to get the size of my braid. So I pre-part it just to see how many braids and how to fit. I try to do windows when I'm doing my braids. So pre-part the hair. Make sure you use edge control, smooth it out. I twist my hair. Some people braid it. Whatever works for you. There we go. All right. To start the knotless braid, I always use 3 pieces of hair. No matter if the braid is big or small, I always use 3 pieces of hair. I didn't show how I separated the hair, but I'll show my pieces. So use 3 pieces of hair. There's one. Braid a little bit, add another one. I know people do knotless braids different, but I just always use 3 parts because it's 3 parts to a braid. So I braid down some, make sure the hair isn't tangled. Knotless braids also depend on the thickness of the hair, the client's hair. But once you add your 3 pieces, braid down and then get your long piece of curly hair. Separate those pieces small also. Get your long piece and feed it in. Make sure you braid down some so the hair won't slide. To do the Bohemian, pull a piece of hair out. Braid down some and then pull out the other side. I try not to make the hair too bushy, or I try not to have too much hair coming out of the braid. So once you do that, you braid down. Keep braiding, keep braiding. You braid all the way down until you see the knots. All of your knots should be even. And then you add your shorter piece to the end. Make sure you braid down some. so the hair won't come out. Braid down and add your knot on the end. I knot about 4 or 5 times, it just depends. But you can knot till you feel comfortable. And there's the first braid. I don't braid every knotless braid with the curly hair coming out. I do every other braid and every other row, so it won't be too much hair. So my next braid will not have Bohemian come out the braid. So there you go, part your hair in 3s. Here's your first piece. Here's your second piece. And your third. Sometimes I rub edge control on the hair as I braid to make it smooth. So continue braiding. This braid will not be Bohemian because the one next to it is already Bohemian. The curl is out. So I do every other braid. You can do however much hair you want out, but sometimes that curly hair can get tangled, so I like to keep it to a minimum. But always add hair to the ends when you're doing Bohemian. Add hair to the end, the short pieces. Feed it in. Braid down some so the curl won't come out, and add your knot. Make sure your knots are lined up. And I'm going to speed the video up so it won't take so long. I just want you guys to see how I do the hair. And when you're beginning the braid at the bottom, like when you first start, make sure you braid past the client's hair when you're knotting, so when they take it out they can just cut above the knot without cutting their hair. So this braid will be Bohemian, and then I'm going to speed up the video so you guys can see. But my next row will have no Bohemian at all. It'll just be curls on the end because this row had Bohemian.
No, I'll leave it. No, I'll never forget that day. No, no, never forget that day. No, 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 I'll leave it.
Alright, so once you have completed braiding the entire head, I use glue. I used to just knot it and leave it, but the hair can unravel. So nail glue works for me. I use nail glue by Kiss, but I think you can use any kind. So take the hair and just literally dab a piece of glue on the knot. That's it. Make sure you separate the hair. Don't get any glue on the curly pieces, but just take glue, dab it on the knot, and squeeze. That's all I do. But make sure you get every knot so the hair doesn't unravel. You don't have to do this, but this is just how I do it. So take every piece of hair, every braid, make sure you get them all. Put a little dab of glue, squeeze, and keep going. Alright, so once your knots are completely glued, take your curly piece out, clip the braiding hair. So for every braid, pull the curly piece out, clip the braiding hair. You have to do this for every braid. Take the curly piece out, clip the braiding hair. That's all you do. Try not to cut your Bohemian curls. Curly piece out, clip the braiding hair. You can clip right under the knot. The knot is glued now, so it won't come apart. So just pull the curly piece out, clip the braiding hair. So once you have completed clipping all the braiding hair, you literally now just cut into the bob. Make sure you don't cut the knots. I cut down so the hair won't have so much of a blunt cut. It kind of leaves the ends a little thin, or thinner than the top pieces. But just angle down, cut down, that's how I do it. To angle your bob, you can take your time. Angle down to the length of where you want the bob or where the client wants the bob. Cut down, make sure it's even. You can cut some of your Bohemian curl because the hair is going to be too long for the bob most of the time. Unless it's a longer bob, you don't have to. Keep cutting down. Keep cutting until the bob is the way that you want it to be. Once I'm done cutting, I initially use foam wrap. You can use really anything. I try to use ones with no alcohol so the hair won't be dry. I use foam wrap to define the curls. And then there you go. And that is how I achieve my Bohemian knotless bob. So if you have any questions or just feedback, comments, whatever, drop below in the comment section and I will see you guys on my next video.